Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2. This one is on setting goals. Those that watched episode 1, we kind of went over the night of my accident. 6 months of rehab, a lot of pain, like a lot of you experienced. Coming home, and now all of a sudden, what do I do next? I had fortunately not already graduated college. I went to school at Texas A&M and had a great time. I didn't know 6 months after graduating I'd be sitting in a wheelchair, but here we are. So anyway, I want to take my journey from setting goals and what I did to get ahead. As I mentioned in our first episode, we came home. We're weak still. We're sleep deprived. No one sleeps well in the hospital. 6 months of that, I didn't sleep well. But I was able to get home and stabilize. That was the important thing, because we all know that our healing can take better. Pretty much in an environment of family and friends, not nurses running in and out, shaking machines and things like that. So, plus the food's a little better. If your mom or grandma's a good cook, or somebody in your family, or your wife, or your girlfriend. One of the things I wanted to do was talk about setting goals. I came home. Here I am, sitting in a wheelchair. What do I do now? I can't go back to my previous job. Involved mobility. So here I am, no mobility. So I knew what I couldn't do. I couldn't drive a truck anymore. Not that I drove a lot of trucks. That wasn't part of my job. But I couldn't do that if I wanted to. Construction was out of the question. I could no longer, think about something a little more lofty. Maybe, being a real estate salesman in some high end units. I could be an astronaut. Not that I was in the future, or a Navy SEAL, or anything along these lines. So I thought, what do I want to do? What can I do? So I decided I didn't want to be bored. So I had to pick a job that had, a lot of change to it, a lot of interesting things, a lot of different companies, and I picked a job being a money manager as a stockbroker starting out. So a lot of you are probably wondering, how's this guy coming up? He's low, very young 20s. Thinks he's going to be a stockbroker. All right, yeah, I think we all might want to try that someday. It's kind of fun to trade other people's money and even your own when you make enough down the line. So anyway, that's a good question. So I'd like to start out by answering going, I had no idea how I was going to get there initially. I didn't know anyone in the field. It wasn't like my uncle was Warren Buffett. Or I had a lot of connections. I had zero. So that made it a little harder, of course. If you guys have connections and want to move somewhere in the business environment, take advantage of them. I recommend that. Common sense, right? So anyway, we didn't have any connections. So we thought, how are we going to do it? Well, we kind of thought, we tried to put ourselves in the employer's shoes. This is a Merrill Lynch and, a lot of big firms. As I mentioned, I had no connection, so I knew there were things that would have to be strengthened to give the appearance to employers that I was worthy and could do the job, even with a high-level injury. I can't use my hands, I can't run around the office, I can't hop in a car and drive to work. So I knew there was things I had to do. So number one, I started thinking of all the little goals that needed to be accomplished within the larger goal of being a money manager. One of the first things I knew immediately, obviously, due to the injury, was I needed help. I needed assistance that could not only help me with my physical needs, but they could also work in a high-paced, fast brokerage environment. So that required quite a special person, obviously. So I was fortunate enough to live near several universities, and by living near these universities, I'd reach out to those that were juniors, seniors, that wanted work experience working with a stockbroker, money manager. So I found some great people that made that part easy, but that was one goal that had to be tightened up before I could even go into an office and fill out an order ticket to buy a stock I bought for a client. Number two was I knew I needed more education. I had a Bachelor of Science degree in economics from Texas A&M, but I knew that wouldn't be enough in the money management world, and the courses only addressed kind of the basic simplicities of managing money for people. So I took other courses. I reached out to a local, another university that was nearby, and I'd go there to work, not to work, but to take classes about 2 nights a week. So I was strengthening my resume in the process. I'd already had a Bachelor of Science, undergraduate. But normally when you want to get a job with one of the big brokerage houses, an undergrad degree just doesn't really cut it. You really need to get further education. Whether that would be like a certified financial planner license, a certified financial analyst license, CPA, you know, these kind of things. So I didn't have those, obviously. I was 23 years old, just out of college anyway. So what I ended up working toward was an MBA. So I go to night school and take courses. I also knew I needed some industry work experience. My resume only showed a job I had for 3 weeks. Not near enough experience or tenure to really interest anyone in the high-paced brokerage environment. What I ended up doing was I accepted a local position working for a company that sold mutual funds. And that turned out to be one of the best things I did because it not only gave me experience, it also was one of the competitors of the firms I would eventually apply to. That firm was fortunate enough to let me study. I had to take a Series 63, which allowed me to trade mutual funds. And I also got a Series 7, which is the broker's license required by the SEC to trade a variety of investment products. So with those two out of the way, and on my resume now showed work experience ongoing with one of their competitors. It showed that I was pursuing further education by looking at an MBA. And I'd hired assistants that could accompany to the office, which would help make my job as a money manager much easier. And I also had started polishing up on some questions during the interview process they might have asked me. Because it's easy to, and one of the mentions right up front. When I started applying to these firms, I made no mention of my disability. They had no idea I was paralyzed from the shoulders down. And the reason I didn't make mention of this, and it might seem to some, that this might have been a little misleading, but I felt that by accompanying myself to the work environment with a very capable assistant who was there, eager like I was to learn, to help clients manage, help me manage clients' money, I thought that that would be enough. There was no reason to mention the disability. Some were shocked when I went on the initial interviews, and that's understandable. But another thing I find important, if you're at home now and you're in a wheelchair, perhaps you might be unfortunately missing a limb. Perhaps you suffered other traumatic things that make your appearance hard for people to feel comfortable with. What I would suggest is setting their minds at ease immediately. So when I drive in there and they'd be looking at me going, wow, we didn't know this guy was paralyzed. How's he going to do this or that? What I would do is explain how I could do things. I said, this is my system. And I taught my assistant early on how to reach out and shake their hand and look them right in the eye, just like I would do if I could. So with that out of the way, they could see that this was a seamless type machine, that we were working together in concert very well. I also explained the mechanics of my chair. As you can see, this is a straw next to my shoulder. I use that chair, this straw to power the chair. It's what they call a sip and puff wheelchair. I don't use it. I'm not getting water, oxygen, or drinks, or anything like water, whatever. And I have people wonder that. I've been out in public plenty of times where somebody go, gosh, I wonder if he's drinking out of that thing. Or maybe that's oxygen. So I thought it was very important to let up front, let the employers get beyond what's churning in their minds. And what's churning in their minds is here's this person. The resume got juiced up. It looks a little more competitive right now. But my goodness, he's in a wheelchair. What is that, how's that going to work for us? So I explained how I could have an assistant being on the same phone line as I was. She would have the headset as well as I, and we would, her line would be muted. So I would talk to the clients. They would hear on the other headset and write down orders or take notes, whatever I needed at the time. And what was interesting about this, out of my years of being a money manager before I retired, was that about 95% of my clients didn't even know I was in a wheelchair. I didn't have to meet them face to face. A lot of the calls were done all over the country from my location in Center City, Philadelphia, the Penthouse 4 from Merrill Lynch. So I was fortunate enough to get a job with them. I was turned down by the first 5 out of 7 I applied to. And what I like to say is don't be discouraged. Each time you go into that interview, that's a learning experience. And that can help you in the next interview, help you to answer questions they might have. Not only concerning your health, your injury, your traumatic event that they're going to deal with. They're going to have you in the office. So what they knew for me was, here's a guy, You know, he's got a cable assistant. You know, he's got the license out of the way that we need for him to trade anyway to consider offering him a job. He's pursuing further education. And he has, you know, you want to be confident. You want to let them know, hey, you know, overlook the disability, overlook my injury. Treat me as you would someone that didn't have one. And I think if you adopt that attitude going forward and help work with people that, you know, can see what the potential you have, it will be important. But the most important thing first, see where you are now, objectively look at where you want to go. And when you find that place, that job, that career, that dream, make sure it's realistic. Don't try to open a restaurant like like with COVID, like for right now, for instance, what we're all facing. You know, retail is not a very good place to be right now. There are jobs that, you know, use Zoom. And a guy in a wheelchair, that's a perfect opportunity to not to have to travel, but still have FaceTime with your clients. So today has opened up avenues for people with disabilities, those living with disease, they just want to thrive and get ahead. Move beyond surviving, staying alive. But try to find things that you enjoy, things that will, you know, give you that gleam, that hope, that pride. So, setting goals. Find the little goals within a larger goal. Fine-tune those. Keep track of how you're doing your progress. You know, I didn't just jump into a job after coming home from the hospital. It took me about a year. It took me a year and a half of preparation to get the assistant structure in place, to get obviously some more courses under my belt. It took a couple of semesters. And also it took time to get the licenses offered to me. It takes study time. So find something you might want to do. You know, I was fortunate, I was hired. The guy that hired me had to be a Vietnam vet. Didn't know it at the time. But anyways, Vietnam vet. And, you know, he saw things that he saw in a lot of his friends that came back from his platoon. You know, maybe missing a limb, maybe paralyzed from an accident, some wartime tragedy. So you can do it. Just have faith in yourself, set goals. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe. There'll be a lot more information. I think you'll find it helpful. Anything, leave me comments, what you like, don't like. Thanks so much.